Hello, this is Reverend Simon Shadowlight. I'm one of the associate ministers at Mile High Church, and today I have the honor of speaking with Geshe Tenzin, who is the spokesperson for the Mystical Arts of Tibet tours. And we're just going to spend a little time talking about the upcoming events at Mile High Church and what they'll be doing. So Geshe Tenzin, thank you so much for being with us. I really appreciate it. Can you just sort of give us an overview of, you tour all over the United States and I guess throughout the world. Mm-hmm. Tell us a little bit about the purpose behind the work that you're doing.
Okay. So my name is Geshe Tenzin Phentsok. I'm the spokesperson for the Mystical Arts of Tibet tour. And so the Mystical Arts of Tibet tour was founded in Atlanta, Georgia. Mm-hmm. And so I think over 27 years ago now, the monks from Drepung Loseling Monasteries, and so Drepung Loseling Monastery was one of the largest monastic institutions in Tibet, was founded in 1416, and then after the invasion and occupation by Chinese forces, military forces in 59, so the monastery was forced to close, and many of the monks, including His Holiness Dalai Lamas and many of the Tibetan people, had to flee from Tibet to India, so thereby re-establish the refugee monastery there. So the monks on the tour are directly from the refugee monastery from South India. Okay. And so we do have the three main objectives, bringing this Mystical Arts of Tibet tour in the United States and also touring some other countries as well. And so the number one is, since Tibet has, very, deep and profound, the Buddhist philosophy, culture, and traditions, and which are, based on, philosophy of love and compassion and wisdom. So we feel that, so through our own century-old Tibetan, the tradition and culture, has a great potential to promote world peace and harmony. Mm-hmm. So that's actually our number one, the prime, the objectives, bringing Mystical Arts of Tibet tour in North America and also throughout the world. Right. And so the second, the objective is, since such, the rich, the culture and traditions, the very ancient region, culture and tradition, which is actually highly endangered right now in this day, in today's inside Tibet, and so we make the awareness about Tibetan situation that actually facing to the Tibetan refugee people and also Tibetan people living inside Tibet as well, and so that we can have the good the resolution for this conflict going on with the Chinese the military forces and the Chinese government and Tibetan government in exile. Right. And so the number third is through touring through this the Mystical Arts of Tibet through the United States and some other countries. So we raise some funds so that we can continue to preserve our own Tibetan culture and tradition in exile community in India. Right. So these are the three main objectives. Bringing the Mystical Arts of Tibet tour that was founded in Atlanta, Georgia. Through our the Drepung Loseling the institute, the monastic institute that was established in Atlanta, Georgia. Through that, that monastery itself actually, affiliated with Emory universities. And so through that, we, bring about this, the Mystical Arts of Tibet tour that was founded in 1987-8.
Right. So tell me a little bit about the monks who are over here. My understanding is that each year, potentially it could be different monks. Yeah. Is there a particular selection process, or
exactly
how does that work?
Yeah, exactly. So we do have a selection committee for this Mystical Arts of Tibet tour in our monastery in the South India. So since we have like over 3,500 the monks at the monastery right now in the South India, and so on the basis of the spiritual majorities and their spiritual arts talents and so on and so forth, so the elder the monastics the senior geshes and the administrators and abbot of the monasteries they on the basis of their spiritual maturity and their spiritual arts talent, and then thereby they're getting selections. And so normally, so every year this tour actually in the past actually 1.5 years touring,
Right.
so 18 months.
Right.
So recently we changed the duration of the tour, so exactly 1 year. So this particular tour actually arrived in the end of the January, and so this will be completed. This tour will be completed end of the December, and then January 1st we flying back to India.
Okay.
And so all of them actually either the senior student of the monastery and some geshes. Right. So geshe is the equivalent degree that the degree PhD in Buddhist philosophies.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so we do have some geshes, 4-5 geshes, including one Rinpoche, who is actually the leader of the tour.
Okay. Now the term Rinpoche, what does that signify?
So the Rinpoche actually which actually means precious one, and they can be referred to your own masters, because the master is your own, the precious person in the world, right?
Right.
So, and then Rinpoche can be used to those who are, the reincarnated, right? So this particular, our group leader is also not only Geshe, he completed Geshe degree, but also he's a Rinpoche, he's a reincarnate, high reincarnate of his own, the incarnation systems.
Right.
So this is actually the 7th, the reincarnate of his own incarnation systems. So Para Rinpoche. So he's our group leader for, this group, 2019 group.
Right.
And we do have 2 groups, so one actually traveling in the Mexico.
Oh, okay.
So we used to do, traveling through European countries, some of the European countries, and South America as well, and also in the past we also traveled to Japan, some, Asia as well, and mostly here in the United States.
Right, okay. Now let me ask, I understand that a number of the monks were born in Tibet, and they made that journey over. Can you tell me a little bit about that journey?
Yeah, so in my group, this 2019 group, my group actually having 10 monks, except me. So rest of the 9 monks actually born in Tibet.
Okay.
So I myself born in India because my parents left from Tibet in 1959.
Okay.
Since then, they're living there. So I was born there in South India. So rest of the 9 monk actually born in Tibet, and then thereby they fled from Tibet to India because they saw that inside Tibet is completely under pressure, under the restriction by the Chinese military forces,
right.
And there's no religious freedoms and so on and so forth. And then it's hardly to find the opportunity to study about the systematic Buddhist, the educational, the systems, studies program. So that's how they left, many of them, they left right now, one can say 25 years ago now.
Right.
Since then they never back,
Right.
And they left their families, parents and everyone inside Tibet, and they travel all through the Himalayan mountain.
Right.
And especially in traveling in the winter seasons, because they thought that, Chinese military cannot stay because winter
right.
seasons, a lot of snow.
Right.
And so that's how they travel for weeks and some actually the months, but there's a lot of risking their life, because if some the Chinese military forces, if they see them traveling, trying to flee from inside Tibet to India, so they will shoot down. So there's many cases that many lives have been the lost by travel from across the Himalayan mountain to the India, and so that's how the monks, they actually sacrifice their life, to risking their life to travel all through the Himalayan mountain to reach India, and thereby join into the exile community. And then they wanted to have audience with His Holiness Dalai Lamas,
right.
And then thereby it depends. Some people who have reach in the exile community in India, some they join into the normal the school, Tibetan schools. Right. Some they join into the monastic schools, so become a monk. So it's actually, it depends on individuals.
Right.
If someone wants to be a monk, so they can decide wherever monastery they want to join.
Right.
And some they just stay, live like the lay persons, and then joining into the lay people, the schools and high primary school and middle school and high school there.
Right. Excellent. Now, did I understand correctly that one of the monks who is with this year's tour actually was captured at one point?
Oh, yeah. I guess Chodak. Yeah. So he had one time he was interviewed by one of the professor, I guess, in the University of Maryland,
right? And
they were so interested about how he managed to escape and this and that, right. And yes, sometimes you never know, while you're traveling,
right?
These days, since 2008, since after Beijing Olympic,
right?
So they put tremendous, the restriction,
right?
Since 2008. Almost every year, it's very less people can escape.
Okay.
We used to have, like, for example, in our monastery, and we're receiving new arrival, the Tibetan from Tibet, at least 100 or 200 or so.
Right.
Sometimes 300.
Right.
In 1 year, and thereby joining the monastery, become a fresh monastic, students.
Right.
And these days, maybe less than, 50, 40, 50.
Right.
Very much less.
Yeah.
Because they put a lot of military forces all across the border with Nepal,
right,
and border with India.
Right.
And these days, not just, the border with India, but Nepal, or many of the polices, they are very favorable with China.
Right.
If Nepal police, even you reach into Nepal soil, Nepal boundary, Nepal, the capital city, Kathmandu.
Right.
And then if Nepal police realize that this is just, flight from Tibet, they will give it back to China.
Okay.
So it's very dangerous. This Nepal government is very much controlled by the Chinese.
Right.
And so that's why these days, even the celebration of His Holiness birthday, His Holiness Dalai Lama birthday, is very difficult. They deny.
Okay.
And many of the Tibetan refugees living there, but very difficult to, they celebrate even the His Holiness Dalai Lama's birthday,
right,
which just recently happened, July 6th.
Right.
And so I think, past, few years, so even the government of Nepal are very much put pressure on Tibetan refugee people.
Right.
They're not giving us freedom that we are having in India.
Right.
In India, so we have all the religious freedom wherever you travel,
right,
whatever you do, your practice, and the monasteries and everything, right, in India. So it's, situation is still, getting worse.
Right.
And very difficult to communicate. For example, the monks with me, like 9 of them actually born there inside Tibet and then fled from Tibet and then joined the monastery in South India. So when they try to communicate through social networks,
right,
it's very difficult. They pinpoint, they know.
Right.
And then many of them, sometimes they get home arrest in the midnight.
Right.
So that's why. And the families and relatives who actually living inside Tibet always sometimes not to talk.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So they
just to stay safe.
Stay safe. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, before I ask you about the programs that you'll be doing here this week, there's just sort of one more question that comes in, and certainly correct me if I'm wrong, but what do you believe will happen once the Dalai Lama makes his transition? It's my understanding he's said that he may not incarnate again, and please correct me if I'm wrong on that. What do you see for the future, or what are your hopes for the future?
That's very true. His Holiness has been, asking a lot of interview about that, and many more concern is actually these days, Chinese official people, right, they always, try to control,
right,
and always saying that, the 15th Dalai Lama would be, chosen by themselves or appointed by themselves, and which is not, against the whole theory of the Buddhism and everything, because first of all, the Chinese government, does not believe in religion. It's communism.
Right.
It's communist. They have no religion.
Right.
That's one thing. When there's no religion, there's no way to talk about what actually reincarnation is.
Right.
Because this system of the reincarnation and this and that is very much based on the Buddhist, the religion,
right.
Buddhist belief. And so these days actually it's growing because they put the law that in old times. So whoever individual person, whoever wants to be a monk, he or she just go to the monastery or nunnery and then get admission from their abbot of the monastery. They can join it very easily, freely. But these days they put a lot of new rules and regulations in many of the monasteries, all of monasteries.
Right.
So whoever wanted to join a monastery or become a monk, you get a permission from the Chinese military forces.
Right.
So how it works, So actually it's completely two different things. Right. Military forces supposed to be more, wrathful things, actions and all these things.
Right.
The monks and nuns are more peaceful actions.
Right.
But still, they're controlling everything.
Yeah.
And whoever wanted to join the monasteries, you need to get permission from them. So that is primarily, they're targeting for the 15 Dalai Lamas.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So we Tibetan people, 6 million Tibetan people, have, has been very strong faith and belief in His Holiness Dalai Lamas. Since the first Dalai Lamas, were born in Tibet, and thereby the leading, not just spiritual, the leadership of Tibet, but also the temporal. And we have same faith and same, the belief that, after this 14 Dalai Lamas somehow, pass away later on, so he will, come back and born into. We believe that, not being born in the control countries or inside Tibet or something like that. So Dalai Lama himself a few times mentioned that if he returned back, his reincarnation will back, so he will be born, in free countries.
Right.
So that actually really makes sense.
Right.
If he being born in the control area or the restricted, like country like Tibet, then China just capture. For example, like the great Panchen Lama. Mm-hmm. So his reincarnation was being born inside Tibet, and then right after His Holiness, giving the recognition of the Panchen Lama, the 10 Panchen Lama reincarnation, and thereby the home arrest.
Right.
So at that time, the great Panchen Lama was, the reincarnation of great Panchen Lama was just 6 years old.
Right.
And he was one of the youngest, the prisoners. Right. Since then, not just Panchen Lama, but whole families and the personal assistants and all of them unknown.
Right.
So since then to up to now. So no one knows whether he is alive or getting proper educations or practices and all these things.
Right. Now, how old would he be now?
He was, I think, very close to 30. I think just over 27, 8. I guess.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Let's talk a little bit about what you'll be doing here. So, starting tonight, you'll have the opening ceremony for the creation of the Sun Mandala. If you could, tell me a little bit about the purpose and the meaning behind building a mandala in general, and then in particular about the building of the Sun Mandala of Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva of compassion. Tell me a little bit about what that means and how that benefits the world.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so the mandala is actually very deep and profound meaning. Mm-hmm. So the term mandala itself is originated from the Sanskrit language, and actually is not the mandala, but it's mandal. Mandal, it's in the proper pronunciation of the mandalas. And when the term itself, like when translate in Tibetan, so we use a kilkor, right? Kil means center, Kor means surrounding.
Okay.
Or Kil means essence. And then Kor means as, taking essence.
Right.
And so each enlightened deities, an enlightened Buddha has his or her own, the mandalas, so the enlightened worlds. Right? And then, the practices and the teachings of all the mandalas, the guidelines and everything actually strictly observed in the text. That actually text teaching, the Buddhist teaching text, not from the sutra, the common teaching. It's actually the tantric teaching, very much based on the tantric system of the Buddhist teachings.
Right.
And so traditionally speaking, so mandala is being built whenever there's a special need for healing in community and society and so on and so forth. And also in connection with this, when the great master, the reality master, is being, given the empowerment ceremony of the particular deities.
Mm-hmm.
For example, if His Holiness, is being given, the empowerment ceremony of the Chenresi or the Avalokiteshwaras, and then mandala has to be created.
Right.
The mandala is what actually meant for. Because the Avalokiteshwara, the Buddha Avalokiteshwara himself is being invoked in the center of the mandalas. Right. And thereby all the disciple and student being introduced.
Okay.
And where you're supposed to get in from the different directional gateways in order to receive the actual blessing and the empowerment, from the center focus of the particular mandalas, whether it is Avalokiteshwaras, or Buddha Manjushri for wisdom, or Avalokiteshvara for compassion, or Buddha medicine for the healing. So whatever the enlightened deity is, right? And so, the advantages of the creation of the mandalas, as mentioned in the textbooks, a lot of there's advantages, beneficials, and from the text, it also mentioned that even a single glimpse at seeing at the mandala is actually the activating positive energy in your eye consciousness, thereby leaving the positive imprints in your mental consciousness. Right. Because whenever we engage on any activities, we are engaging on the five consciousness, five senses, right, through the five organs, the five senses, and thereby the mental level, right? So that's why we believe that even a single glimpse at the mandalas while they're creating, after opening ceremonies, where they do the chanting, prayers, meditations, and also the invocation of forces of invoking the particular deity of the mandala here. Right. And in the presence of those invoked deities and Buddha and Bodhisattvas, and they maintain meditative mindfulness, and thereby creating, as mentioned in the textbook. Right. So since they got few years, many years to train in monasteries, so through their memories, so they're working without discussing or talking. So they just, working by, each other through these four directions. Right. And maintaining their meditative mindfulness, the purpose of the creation of mandalas. Right. And since the mandala here, we are going to make mandala of the Buddha Avalokiteshwaras. So the Buddha Avalokiteshvara is the embodiment of all the compassionate energy of 3 times Buddha. Right. Buddha, past, present, and future. Right. So we hope that, the very creation of the mandala of the Buddha Avalokiteshvara is health, so rest of the community. Right. To generate the compassion, and to manifest. Right. Even we do have the seed of the compassion, so we believe that everyone shares the seed of compassion is there. Right. So the only thing is whether or not that seed can be, spread out, to activate or not. Yeah. So that's our problem, right? So since we do have this great potential, great seed of that compassion in the nature of our mind is there, but only thing is we need this external or internal condition to condition it to manifest to some extent. Right. First to your close circle of your families. By a logical factor, your compassion would be easier to extend your friends and families first, and then why not to the rest of the people, right? Because after all, we share the same desire or the desire of wanting happiness and don't want suffering. So that is a matter of fact.
Right.
So why not extending to so-called the group of enemies, so-called group of the unknown persons, right? So we normally, in the teaching, they mention that while you try to generate the compassion, you always having the three different categories of the group of peoples.
Right.
Like the first, number one is, the close circle of in the group of people,
right?
And then you so-called the group of people for the so-called enemies,
right?
And then a group of people who actually never interact with and never know each other, so and so forth, unknown people.
Sort of neutral.
Yeah, neutral state of mind. So that's why, while we train the, generation of compassion, so you should first, you yourself have a sense of compassion within yourself, right? For yourself and your family, first.
Right.
Thereby you can enhance and then you can expand. The same reason, because the reason is, we all innately have a strong desire of wanting happiness, don't want sufferings.
Right.
So there's no boundary at all. There's no barriers like color or this nationality and this and that.
Right.
So everyone wanting happiness, don't want sufferings. So only thing is how to achieve that happiness and how to avoid that sufferings. So that's the way to approach, way to to reach.
Right.
So that's why we believe and we hope, very much hopeful that, the creation of mandala, it's not, only help the creator, the monks themselves, but also help the rest of the community and leaves a tremendous, the impact of the awareness about the generation of the compassions.
Right.
And so that, through this community too, and then rest of the community. Right. And thereby you can expand the awareness of compassion and the generation compassion towards the rest of society and community. Right. So then only we can talk about bringing the world peace and harmony. So otherwise, if individual community never put in action, so there won't be. There's no possible to the bringing world peace and harmony.
Right. Well, and if I can't even have compassion for myself, I'm probably not going to have it for my enemies, I would think. Well, now let me ask you, now there is, I'm sure more than one, but there are specific Buddhist practices, and I want to use the term metta, of loving kindness, of where one would intentionally focus on creating that feeling, experiencing that compassion for self and those loved ones, and then extend it out to a neutral person and then to one's enemies. Do I understand that correct?
Yeah.
Or, would that be, because we anticipate, while you're here building the mandala, that we'll have people who will come in and meditate. Would that be a good thing, if they're so inclined, would that be a good thing that they could, set an intention for of having that experience of compassion for their loved ones, and then, as you say, generating it out to larger and larger circles? Yeah,
that would be very very good to they have this opportunity to participate with the while the monks are chanting and invoking the Buddha Avalokiteshwaras, and we do the whole rites and rituals that they mention in the textbook, the whole steps of the the rituals of the invoking the Buddha Avalokiteshwaras, and then also the rest, and also Bodhisattvas and Buddhas, the rest of the Buddhas here, and so of course if you try to connect with the spiritually, and then I believe that it very the benefits.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, and I did, just in listening with you talk, and I'm always somewhat reluctant to try and force parallels between different faith paths, but I know in our faith tradition, one of the very important things is prayer, and in essence we are, creating in mind this ideal or this equivalent of the thing we're praying for, and then wanting to embody that. And it makes me wonder, when you build the mandala, it's really like a blueprint or a representation of either that bodhisattva, that being, that quality, in this case of compassion, so that it can radiate more in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Is that so? It just seems to me that there is sort of a closeness to what we do on our different faith paths, and that likewise we're trying to bring those qualities into the world as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the mandala, and also I normally try to explain when people ask what actually the mandala is, and so that is actually one purpose, that the rough meaning of the mandalas, the kilkor, which means the center and surrounding,
right?
Or it's taking essence from within,
right?
And so the mandala, the sand painting that we are making for the mandala of our Lokiteshvara is just one of the example,
right?
And the creation itself comes under the external mandalas, right? So when I try to explain to the people, so there are, 3 different levels of the mandalas. One can say the external mandala, internal mandala, and secret level of mandalas.
Okay.
And then external mandala can be created like by sand and on the tables.
Right.
And also the external mandala can be created on canvas by painting.
Right.
And also external mandala can be created by 3-dimensional one, like this building,
right,
made out of wood. If you ever visit to the monastery in India and Tibet, Nepal also, some of monasteries, they have like 3-dimensional mandala made out of wood, so which take years to complete.
Right.
And so those are the 3 means of, ways and means to create the mandalas, the external mandalas.
Right.
And then there's the internal mandala, in the sense, all the patterns, color, design, everything has a specific meaning. Right? So those are meaning very ancient Buddhist, the iconography, all of them, their special meaning. So those one can say the internal mandalas.
Right.
The beauty of that icons, the symbols, signs and symbols, and the meaning.
Right.
And then external, the secret level of mandala is, the creation of secret level of mandala is also different. And the secret level of mandala itself is different. The creation of secret level of mandala actually should be created within your spiritual body, and thereby realizing where those energy centers and chakras and so on and so forth.
Right.
And where all the different levels of the deities and this and that, reciting this and that, different points and so on and so forth. So those are the secrets, the level of the creation of the mandala, and also the secret meaning as well. So those are not supposed to, discuss or talk in public.
Right.
So those are the secret level, because the name of itself is a secret, right?
So
while we were on the tour, so we actually try to, the exhibit or to show our, the culture of, the creation of the mandala, a very external level as form of arts, right? And thereby explaining very basic, the common understanding,
right.
The common, the interpretation,
right,
and not going the deeper level of the interpretation from different schools of thoughts,
right.
And so that's how, and also the teacher, teaching itself mentioned that, even just single glimpse at the mandala is also activated positive energy, and thereby you are getting the maximum, the benefits.
Right.
And not only that, once we're done, so the mandala will be dismantled, and thereby doing, that, the blessed sand actually we pour into the river, thereby the river will dissolve into the earth. And actually it believes to say that, the revitalizing the natural elements of the earth, so which is very crucial for the inhabitants of the environment.
Right.
And so there's so many, the benefits,
right.
The advantages of the creation of the mandalas, as mentioned in the text, the teachings.
Excellent. Tell me a little bit about the event on Sunday. So the sacred music, sacred dance. Tell me a little bit about when people come, they're not, correct me if I'm wrong, but they're not just seeing a performance, but tell me a little bit about the experience they'll be having.
Mm-hmm. Okay, on Sunday, so we are going to have a sacred music, sacred dance for world healing that actually includes with many different, the pieces of the performances, and very rich performances in the sense. the rich costumes and the symbolic, the color and, design, everything has a different spiritual, the meanings. And also, for example, like the Black Hat Master dance, and which is normally, they perform on the eve of the New Year, and, believing that, whatever we have, the accumulating, or whatever we, have those, the negativities or the obstacles in our life, right? On the eve of the New Year, we have to remove so that we can start with the New Year with the freshness,
right?
With the positivities, right? So the Black Hat Master also, the dances also, perform with the eve of the New Year in the many different, the monasteries, and so sometimes they dances for like few days of the, the Black Hat Master dances,
right,
as to removing, the invisible, those obstacles and hindrances in the community, and thereby the purifying. And also there's the skeleton dance and the snowline dance, and also the church drum, so each one has a, the special, the spiritual, the significance,
right,
the meaning,
right.
And then I will be actually making announcement each different pieces what actually it means.
Excellent.
And thereby, if you are being able to spiritually connect it, right, not just like the normal, the ordinary or normal common performance that you watch, right? So many of them you just watch and they enjoy, and then after that it's finished.
Right.
Many of them are like that. So the sacred music, the sacred dance, not just, you being able to enjoy if you're being able to spiritually connect it, but also after performance you can have something. Thereby, why not and why this? You can also have a, the analysis. You can also have an investigative, spiritual thoughts of those, the spiritual, the positive thoughts and emotions.
All right.
So that actually helps us to relieve from the unhealthy emotions and thoughts.
Right.
So thereby leaving the positive imprints for oneself, and so that less, there's room for the negative imprints in our mind.
Right.
So that's how it's so much beneficial.
Yeah. So it's not just a performance, come and watch it passively, but to the degree that any person is able to really connect with that. And I mean, in some ways, I imagine many people who attend will make it like part of their spiritual practice for that
and
moment.
Also, we do have one of the pieces is actually the demonstration of the monastic debate on Buddhist philosophies. That is very, very challenging, very, beautiful one.
Very cool.
Because in our monastery, we spend 5 to 6 hours debate on Buddhist philosophies.
Now tell me, what's the purpose of that? Is it to learn? Or?
It's actually the how to improve your intellectual skill. And Buddha himself mentioned in his teaching that you, the followers, right, not just out of the reverence or out of faith, should not follow his teaching, right? He mentioned that in his own teaching, and you should investigate as if like goldsmith does, the goldsmith, in order to finalize whether the pure gold or not, they cut it and they burn it and they rub it, right? Then later on they finalize. So this is pure gold. So Buddha gave complete liberty or freedom to the followers, to his students or disciples. So we in our monastic the institution, monastic universities, so we have the debate session in the sense, whatever subject, whatever topic of Buddhist teaching you are studying for 5 years, 6 years, whatever, and then you have to memorize. That is very important. So thousands of pages you got to memorize. And after memorization, then only you can approach to teacher to receive the teaching. Otherwise, the teacher, master will deny you to teach. So first you have to memorize. That means every word is in your mind. Now you need a meaning of the words. So you approach to teacher and then receive the teachings. And then what actually the textual meaning, integrate, the external, internal meanings and all these things. And then whatever you heard and learned from your master, and those meanings and understanding brought to the debate courtyard, and the rest of the student, between rest of student, you can make a debate. So this is our topic. And then the teacher that you receive the explanation and all these things, the reference textbook and all, so says these things. So why not this? Why not this? So why you agree this? Why you not agree this? Right? So what is the final meaning? Right? Explicit meaning and implicit meaning, and there's a textual meaning, and so many different levels of meanings. So you yourself try to get it, what actually the final meanings, in order to convince you yourself, right? So this is the ultimate meaning of the particular topics. And then once you're fully convinced of the meaning of that particular text, then your mind is okay to follow it.
Then you can begin.
Then you can, say, okay, then it's up to you, right? After all, you finalized. Like after all, the goldsmith finalized, this is the pure gold. Right? Now goldsmith can use whether this gold used for the ring or bracelet or whatever. Right? So once you finalize and thereby finding the pure gold, similarly, once you finalize this is the final meaning of the text. Right? After investigating, analyzing this and that, then that meaning put into practice. So everyday life. And that meditation is something that is very important to bringing that meaning to you and be as a part of your daily life. Not just practice in temple. When you go out of temple, then you forget it. Not like that. So everyday life. So that your ordinary habits, ordinary way of thinking by body, speech and mind will be transformed. So once you see first the final conviction of the meaning of that teachings, then only you put it into practice. And then that practice again and again for like many years, then your pattern of habits will be changed. And the way of thinking, way of looking, way of acting, speaking, whatever will be eventually, moving towards the positive. Without less obstacles, without less, uncomfortable or whatever. So that's actually how debate, the monastic debate is very crucial and important to you yourself to be trained your mind. Otherwise, this is Buddha said and you should follow, then some people may ask, why you follow? You have no answer at all. You are not analyzed.
You're just responding rotely, whatever you memorized.
So that's why memorize, receive teaching, and then make debate to make it final meaning. Find it final meaning.
See, that's what we need. That's what we need to do here. Our founder, Ernest Holmes, who founded this teaching, had very much the same spirit. In that, don't just take what I've written about and talked about, and I want you to apply it to your life. I want you to test it and see how it actually works. That's such a great dedication and intention to that. That's very. Otherwise, our mind is very unique. Once our mind is fully convinced, then only start to think, I may change now. Well, and otherwise, our mind is sometimes lost. And how easy it is for people to convince themselves of things that just may or may not be true, may or may not work, but yet they become committed to those things. It's awesome. Trying to think if we've covered so much. Is there anything else that you would like people to know, people who may come and visit while you're here? Is there anything you'd like people to know?
So I will say, so this is our first visit here in this wonderful, the church, Mile High Church, and we are very, very honored. And last year, actually, I myself, attended with one of the few programs here, and all the monks actually very much, touched by the presence of all the wonderful spiritual brothers and sisters, and also reverends, the masters here. And I will say, please come if you have time and then visit and explore what actually the Tibetan Buddhist monks, want to share, the century-old Tibetan culture and traditions.
Right.
So I'm sure that you will really like it and you will really enjoy and benefits, and not just the temporary meeting for a few days, but also it really impacts the rest of your life for bringing more harmony, peace in you yourself and your families, communities, and then at large at world,
Right.
And that's all that I wanted to share.
Right.
And so I would like to thank all the concerns, staff and members, and the supporters and sponsors, for bringing and supporting us. And this culture, the century-old Tibetan culture and tradition, is highly endangered inside its own, the hometown, home country in Tibet. And showing concern and supporting that actually means a lot for Tibetan refugee people, facing their culture almost dying.
Right.
And a very difficult time. And we're very much thankful to all of them.
Well, and we are very honored to have you here. Thank you for taking the time for this interview. Thank you for the work that you all are doing in this world. And again, we look forward. We have the information on our website. If you can be here, when you can be here, please come join us. Thank you very much.